Hey guys, Kimber right here. 2022 has been a hard year for everyone, not least for the celebrities. We've lost quite a lot of celebrities this year, and I wanted to go through quite a few of them. Now, I want to make something clear first before I start this video. I have no interest in rap, so there are very little to no rap stars on this show. I am aware that June from EastEnders has also passed away, but I have no interest in EastEnders, so she is not added to my list either. But let's go through the list of the names that we do have. These are so the title should be Celebrities Lost in 2022 that their deaths affected me badly. So let's start with, these are in no particular order, but let's start with the first blow that I had, which was Bob Saget. Bob Saget is a comedian slash actor who is more remembered for his role in Danny Tanner in Full House and being a guest star in Fuller House, which was their sequel on the network theatre on the Netflix. Bob Saget was a great guy, and I think his death has affected quite a lot of people, particularly those that remember him as Danny Tanner, the single father struggling, looking after 3 girls, while probably keeping the other 2 guests, his eccentric brother-in-law and his friend, in check. He was basically the parent to not just 3 girls, but also 2 boys as well. And the fact that they were friends after was just a truly amazing thing. He will be remembered throughout all of it. The next one is Meatloaf. My husband actually introduced me to Meatloaf, but I hadn't realised I'd known him before. I just hadn't made the connection until my husband played some songs. Meatloaf is an actor and singer who passed away due to the virus complications linked to his diabetes, was it?
I'm not really too sure, actually. Probably.
He had a severe complication with his health, and the virus didn't help in any way, shape, or form in doing it. If you've ever heard songs like "Life's Full of Lemons," "Rock and Roll Dreams Come True," and
Battle of Hell.
Battle of Hell, his most famous one, then you'll know exactly who Meatloaf is. He's a great guy. If you've ever seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show,
yeah,
and if you were a fan of the Spice Girls, if you'd ever seen, I think it's the only movie that they did, the guy who played the bus driver was Meatloaf, and this is what I mean by I didn't make the connection when I was a lot more younger that this guy was Meatloaf, because Meatloaf, there's actually a line that is reference to the fact that he is Meatloaf, that he is actually a singer himself, and that's when the girls need to have a pit stop. The bus needs to make a pit stop because all the girls need to go use the facilities in the woods, and the manager's going into a complete rant, and it's misleading because Meatloaf asks him, what do you expect me to do? And the manager replies, fix it. Now, when he says fix them, I think he means fix the toilets. But there's another meaning behind that word. If you don't know, ask your parents, and they can tell me off in the comments. I'll happily take the rap for it. But the next line that Meatloaf says is, look, I love these girls, and I'd do anything for them, but I won't do that, which is a hint to one of his own songs. I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. It's a little play on his own life that was sort of squeezed in the film, and you had to be a Meatloaf fan to know the reference. Unfortunately, at the time I wasn't, but now I am. Stephen's hanging his head. He's probably thinking, "Oh, why did Meatloaf want to get involved in that?"
Oh, I was just thinking, I just spent the last half hour trying to get to a place and I died due to a bug in the game.
You died due to a bug?
In the game.
So the next person I want to talk about, and if you're a Disney fan, this hit you like a brick wall. There's very few Disney actors that will hit a Disney fan very hard. One of them would be Dick Van Dyke, for example. If he died, a lot of people would be very, very upset. Another person would be Jim Cummings. If he passed away, he voiced Winnie the Pooh and Car and Tigger and several other Disney characters. If he passed away, the Disney community would be super furious with the universe that he passed away. But when this actress passed away, it was a huge blow to the Disney community, and it is, of course, the great Angela Lansbury. Angela Lansbury is famous for the voice of Mrs. Potts. If you've been a theatre fan, you would also know her in Sweeney Todd. She played Miss Lovett. She's been in several other things as well. She's played in Little Women. She was in Nanny McPhee as the disgruntled aunt. And recently she was in the Mary Poppins 2, where she played a balloon lady, handing out balloons to the children. It's one of the hardest things when you lose a great actress who's made such a huge impact to the community. She was in Bedknobs and Broomsticks as well, which is where I first knew her. I'll never forget the song that she sings, which for years as a kid I was singing, which was You're at the Age of Not Believing. That was my favourite song linked to her that I remember so very well. I've also recently learned she was in Anastasia as well, which I used to watch. Now that I know that she was in Anastasia, her voice is more recognisable. But it was a huge blow when she passed away, and it's not something I can easily recover from, her death. To make matters even worse, and we'll move on to the next person, shortly after she passed away, literally about a day or two after Angela had passed away, the Harry Potter community had a blow. And as both a Harry Potter fan and a Disney fan, it was like two blows in 1 week. I literally remember it. I was doing network theatre at the time, and I remembered coming in and saying, "Oh, Angela Lansbury's passed away. Mrs. Potts, how terrible." And then coming in literally 2 days later and saying, "Hagrid's died." It's like, oh, thanks, universe. As if I wasn't already down from Angela's death. Now you killed me even more. It was when Robert Cortain passed away. It was like two blows in one year, and it truly was horrible. Hogwarts now has its caretaker again. It already had its potions master. It had one of its headmasters. It had quite a few old students, and it probably housed Harry's uncle, who also passed away. Now the caretaker has gone to join them, and we hope that he's looking after the Hogwarts in the sky very well. But it truly was a horrible blow when he passed away. He passed away. I can't remember why he passed. It was a while ago, but it was true. It was truly kind of already recovering from Angela's death, and suddenly, bam! Oh my God, someone else has passed away. 2 blows in 1 week is not good. I've got to tell you now, 2 blows in 1 week is definitely not good. I don't. This one I learned on this guy's death. I'd learned on TikTok. But when I learnt about it, it was a huge blow to my childhood. I used to watch Pingu. I don't know if people remember it. Pingu is a plasticine penguin that would, on more occasions, if he wanted attention or if he was angry, you'd suddenly see a trumpet come out, his lips turn into a trumpet as he's doing the classic line, "Noo, noo." And the original voice actor who created that amazing line, "Noot Noot," sadly passed away. His name was Carlos Bonamy, and he passed away this year in July, if I'm remembering rightly. I might have to look at my TikTok again because I saved when he passed away. But he was the first original actor, a voice actor of Pingu. He might have been the one who also invented. I never know exactly what's being said. There's a bit where he talks really incredibly fast to his sister. And the only way I can repeat it is to say these words, but I'm not convinced that's what he's saying, which is, "I can't afford it with you. I can't even afford it." I keep thinking that's what he's saying, but I'm not convinced. Either that or he's hinting that the budget was so low, and that's why they're plasticine. But I'll never look at Pingu. I'll never look at the old Pingus again and not think of this amazing actor to come up with such a great catchphrase as "Noot Noot" for such a iconic character is an amazing feat, and he will be missed throughout the whole community. And close to Christmas, we lost another great actor. Well, I say great actor, we lost a book writer. And his name was Raymond Briggs. If you're going through your Christmas videos trying to work out what to watch, watch The Snowman or The Snow Dog in his honour. Richard Briggs unfortunately lost his life this year, and every time you watch The Snowman, you're feeding on his memory as you're watching it. I certainly won't be able to watch The Snowman again without thinking about him. It's such an iconic story and such an amazing author to be able to read. If you ever find the book, by all means treasure it, because it's one of the greatest books that you'll ever read. And speaking of books, another inventor, I don't know if people remember him because I barely remembered him myself when I first read it, but his name was David McKee, and he wrote a collection of books called Elmer. Now, Elmer was this patchwork elephant that lived with a group of other elephants, and he was a bit of an outsider. Now, if you're an outsider like me, that really hits home. And he was an outsider. He lived on his own. He lived on his own as an outcast, and he was able to gain the trust of his herd despite his differences, because of his patchwork uniqueness. I think you can still buy the books on Waterstone. In fact, you can get an Elmer. I haven't got my plushie of Elmer. I think it might be at my mum's house. But losing him was a huge blow, and possibly I might go out and buy myself one in his memory, if I can. It certainly was something hard to describe when you lose a great and amazing writer such as him. Going on to Japanese. I actually do have the books here, but I can't reach them right now. And we lost Kazuki Takahashi. For people who don't know who he is, if I said the word Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh fans, particularly if you've read the mangas, would go, "Ah, we know who he is." He is the creator of the Yu-Gi-Oh mangas, and was the official creator of Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't think he was the creator of the Yu-Gi-Oh game. I might be wrong about that. But certainly if you've read any of his mangas, can I reach them? No, they're kind of buried. You certainly would remember these kind of things. Give me 2 seconds. I think I can reach them. He originally wrote them for the magazine Show and Jump, which also featured a. I'm going to bring it forward a bit. There we go. Who also featured another manga book that I was reading, called Jing Bandit King, which was about a thief. I don't think he's written Jing Bandit King, but certainly I was actually gonna start reading the manga books again, but I might give that another year because I think I might start crying just remembering some of his stuff. I mean, the detail that he has in his books, it's just an amazing thing. And if you ever want to get a book, by all means get the Yu-Gi-Oh mangas, because it's a perfect intro to the Yu-Gi-Oh world and the Yu-Gi-Oh community, other than collecting the cards, which is another way. But that was how the world started, and it's thrived from that world ever since. It's truly an amazing feat. Sticking with mangas, or more specifically, we're now going into the comic era. We did lose someone. I say comic era is more in the animation. So one of the voices of Batman sadly passed away, and his name was Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy voiced the Batman for quite a while, and we recently were actually watching the Justice League, me and my husband, so I need to check to see if he was the voice of Batman throughout all of it. But he's got such an amazing, deep, suppressed voice that it fits the Batman character so well. And it's how he created the kind of Batman personality. It's going to be hard to sink back into those shoes when you've got such an iconic man voicing Batman for so long. There are actors who can do it. The guy who's currently playing Batman could do it, but I don't think he'd hit the same key that Kevin Conroy did. And speaking of hitting the same key, voice acting wise, we're going back to Harry Potter, and another. I don't know whether it's going to be key or anything, but we lost a guy named Leslie Phillips. Now, Leslie Phillips was the voice actor of the Sorting Hat in the first movie, and I think he made a brief appearance in the second one as well, where he explains to Harry that he would still have put him in Slytherin rather than Gryffindor, which is where he originally put him. Leslie Phillips is more famous for being in the Carry On films. He was the guy who created Ding Dong in the Carry On films. If you ever see a Carry On film and you hear someone going Ding Dong, that's Leslie Phillips. He died of natural causes, and my hope is he will be remembered by his friends and family. And the Harry Potter community, if you ever put the films on and you hear the Sorting Hat, that's the guy, Leslie Phillips, still living up to his comedic, iconic voice and witty ways. It was hard. One of the biggest blows that I had, I actually had the honour of meeting her, but I never got her autograph, and I kind of now wish I did. But to be in the exact same room as her was so much of an honour that I could live through that throughout the years. and not really have any cares or worries in the world. And that was a woman named, I'm going to butcher her name completely wrong, and I apologise, Nichelle Nichols. Nichelle Nichols, if you're a Star Trek fan, she was the actress who played Lieutenant Uhura, and she made such an impact in history for the black community. I'm white, so you're thinking, why would I say such a thing? I do believe that she made such an amazing amazing commitment to the black community, and that's part of the reason I honour her so much, because not only did she go on as a black actress and do such an amazing job to such an iconic character such as Lieutenant Uhura, she will be remembered forever for inspiring actresses like Whoopi Goldberg, for example. So Whoopi, when she played Guinan, she was famous for saying that one of her biggest inspirations into becoming an actress was Nichelle Nichols. And if you ever see her play Lieutenant Uhura, you get it straight away as to why. She was just an amazing, amazing actress. The kind of treatment that she received as she was doing Star Trek was just horrific. But I think one of her biggest memories is she was thinking of leaving. I don't think she could take much of what was happening to her anymore, and she was contemplating leaving Star Trek. And then she met, at the time, Martin Luther King. This was in the 60s. And she expressed to Martin Luther King that she wanted to leave, and Luther said, please stay, please stay. You do not understand how much of an input you are making. Please, please stay. And she stayed. And she will always be remembered in the Star Trek community as the communications officer with an amazing personality and an amazing, absolutely, truly amazing singing voice. I think one of my biggest memories is me rewinding to listen to her voice, because she truly has the voice of an angel. And now she's an angel herself up in the Enterprise, up there somewhere with Spock and McCoy and Scotty, watching over us as we carry on throughout our day, and boldly going where no man or woman has gone before. It truly was a wonderful experience to be able to watch throughout the years. The only regret I have is not having her autograph, but I'd rather have the memory of being in the exact same room as her than not having her autograph. If I'd managed to get her autograph as well, that would have been brilliant. But knowing that she was in the same room and knowing what an impact she has made, that is something I'll treasure forever. She truly was an amazing woman, and my thoughts and prayers go with her. Speaking of people who have made such a fantastic impact, this guy, I thought long and hard on how I was going to do an intro to this guy. I can certainly say he has not had a boring life. He certainly has not. If you're trying to work out who I'm talking about, if I was to come to you and say, right, said Fred, or man in the hole, you'd know exactly who I was talking about. And if you didn't, all I would have to say is Wilfred. If you were a Doctor Who fan, Wilfred. And you'd get it straight away. It is, of course, the legendary Bernard Cribbins. Bernard Cribbins was a great and awesome man. He's also remembered for the Wombles. I actually asked my brother if people were going to put on Wombling Christmas in his honour, because he was the voice of Orioko in the old animations, and he was quite an inspiration for so many people. I remember as a kid dancing to Right Said Fred, because it's such a funny, silly little song, but it's one of those funny, silly little songs that stick in your head for a very long time. And of course, when he played Wilfred, which was Donna Noble's grandfather, that truly sealed. He'd already been in Doctor Who before, so he's been in Doctor Who twice. He was Doctor Who when he was very much younger, opposite, I believe, Tom Baker or Peter Davison. I'm not 100% sure, but he'd already appeared in Doctor Who, and now he'll be remembered as I will say, one of the companions, particularly as he was one of the companions in one of the specials. But he'll also be sadly remembered as the man who was linked to the Doctor's, David Tennant's, demise. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll certainly recognise this sound. And everyone will go, oh yeah, we remember him. I certainly remember watching that episode and hearing the knocks as it was going on and thinking to myself, no, please, please, don't link such a great man to this. I don't want to remember him as the reason David Tennant has passed away. And unfortunately, he'll always have that memory as well, but he'll always have good memories as well as bad as well. And he'll be remembered forever as one of those characters in your memories who was so witty and so cool, but also played some of the greatest characters in the world. I'm certainly going to play Right Said Fred once I finish this show, because I think it'll be amazing to be able to hear that voice again. The final two people that I'm going to talk about, they're not. The first one I kind of know about, but I don't know much about her life. The only thing that I know her in is Grease, and that's the actress Olivia Newton-John. She played Nancy in Grease, and I had seen Grease a few times growing up as a kid. It was quite a popular Christmas show on the television, and I think when you listen to some of the songs, it's absolutely amazing. But when you hear her kind of amazing vocal songs, it's one of the greatest vocals up there, I would say. But anyone who's seen Grease will certainly remember Olivia Newton-John. I think she was in something else I'd seen before, but I can't remember what the show is. But no, she'll be remembered. And the last person I want to talk about, considering the kind of year that we've had, this was a huge, ginormous blow. I was at work at the time, and I wasn't even thinking about anything in particular. And a customer came in and told us that, or announced to us, that the Queen had passed away. The Queen Elizabeth II, our Queen, the UK's Queen. The Queen that had been around for 97 years had sadly passed away among friends and family, thank goodness. That would have broken my heart if she'd not been able to have her friends and family. To emphasise that, when her father died, she was on tour, and she had to dash home from the tour to go to be with her father, and she never got to say goodbye. And it feels amazing that this time, when she passed away, her family had the opportunity to say goodbye. And the only happiness that I feel is that now she's with her husband again, her husband Philip, who's been her rock throughout all of this. Her death was not really that much of a surprise to me, because Philip had passed away last year, and a lot of people were saying the Queen's lost her rock. She's going to pass away as well. I think it was it wasn't that we didn't suspect that she was going to pass away real soon, because she was becoming frail. She had to step down from her royal duty. She was becoming so badly frail. And the thing that makes it worse is we'd recently celebrated her 75th coronation anniversary, her 75 years reign on the throne. And on the 75th year of her reign, she also passed away. So we had her platinum jubilee and her death on the exact same year. But I feel so honoured to be part of that history. I happened to be at the right place at the right time when she returned to Buckingham Palace, which you'll see in some of the shorts. I left a note. I didn't have flowers, so I left a note for the Queen in Green Park. I happened to be at the right place at the right time to stand in the queue, which didn't take me that long. It took me. I started on the queue at 8:50, I think it was, and I didn't actually leave the queue till close to 2:50, 3 o'clock, which wasn't bad compared to some other people's tales of the queue. But I'll always picture me going into the hall and seeing the Queen's. The more I think about it, the more it was just a coffin with the flag draped over it and some of the crown jewels on it. But none of that mattered when I went to see it. It was like, it was something in history that I truly, truly wanted to remember. And I'm so glad that I did manage to go and see it. I was in Hyde Park during her funeral. I wanted to be at Westminster Abbey, the Westminster Arch, but I didn't get there in time. So I just stayed in Hyde Park and watched the funeral from there. And it truly was an amazing sight. Yeah. A part of me wishes that we could have had her longer. But one of the things that upset me after her death, and I get it, not everyone is a fan of the royals. I don't particularly like the royals myself, but I had enough respect to say, okay, whatever opinion I may have had of the royal family and what they have done, that means nothing when it comes to a death. You respect death. I didn't see her as an old woman, as my queen when she passed away. I saw her as a grandmother, a great grandmother, and a mother. And my thoughts were with the royal family. My thoughts are now with Charles, because he's got a difficult decision to make this coming Christmas. I, to this day, do not know if there is going to be a King's Speech this year. And I'll be completely honest with you, I would not be kicking up sand if he made the decision this year, I'm not going to do the King's Speech. He's lost his mum, and the fact that he has been able to return to duties, and we can see it impacted him. His mum's death impacted him quite badly, because he's had questionable behaviour since then. And a lot of people have teased him about it, but a lot of other people turned around and said he's just lost his mum. He's grieving. He had, unlike the rest of us, where we could go to the boss and go, look, I need 3 days to grieve. I need 3 days by myself to grieve this person's death. He's not had those 3 days. The only time I think the royal family could have had time to mourn is shortly after the funeral. And even then, they didn't have that much in the way of a break. So to ask someone to take a role that his mum has held for so long, I would not blame Charles. I would not be screaming and kicking at him if he made the decision this year that he wasn't going to do the King's Speech. Not this year. Not so close to his mum's death. Saying that, I do know that on the same year that her father passed away, she did take up the legacy of her father's, of the King's Speech, made it the Queen's Speech. I know she did that. So he might follow his mum's example and do the King's Speech. But I would be one of the few people in the UK who just would not blame him if he made the decision not to do it. We've had many different other kinds of death. These are just some of the people whose lives have impacted me with their deaths. And this is the list as created before this film was made. There's one more year left. There's one more week left to go of this year. I don't know if we're going to lose anyone else. I'm saying that because last year, I never did a video like this, but last year we had a big impact in the life. She was going to be on this list, but people remind me that she died before the new year, so she technically didn't die in this year. And that was a young actress named Betty White, also known as the Queen of Acting. And of course, 2020, when everything was going completely mad, was it 2020 or 2019? Might have been 2019. The sci-fi community lost their queen in Carrie Fisher. Remember Carrie Fisher, hun?
Yeah, from Star Wars.
And she died between Christmas and New Year's. I don't know if the same thing's going to happen this year, whether we lose someone impacting my life, but my hope is no. Anyway, before I start crying, which will be an embarrassment for me, I'm going to head off, start celebrating Christmas. So until then, I'm waving at my husband's camera. Until then, stay safe, stay well, keep the magic in your fingertips, and I'll see you again soon. I'm off to grab a tissue. Bye for now.